Hello, lovely friends. I'm so glad you're here because in this conversation, you're going to hear from one of our Creative Sanctuary members, Frances, and she's got just an amazing story. She's incredibly creative with such a heart for encouraging others, for teaching others, and her story is full of lessons from how God has used her creativity, even when you don't, feel artistic enough and you've not gone to college to do art or anything like that, you'll learn how Frances combines her faith and art and how she helps young people process life through journaling and how God has turned her mess into a message. And I know her story will inspire you and help you see how creativity in a completely fresh way. And make sure you stay until the end because I've got something really exciting to share with you. And you don't want to miss it. So I'll be sharing my Zentangles and all this sort of stuff. So you really, really don't want to miss this. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Let's get into the interview. Hi, so hello, lovely friends, and welcome. I'm really excited today because I get to share this conversation that we're going to have with one of my Creative Sanctuary members, Frances, and she's incredibly gifted, really creative woman who inspires so many people with her art. And what I especially love is that she's been using my journals in her own art journaling group in church. So she's not only growing her creativity, but she's also encouraging others in their walk with God. So I know how creative she is, and I can't wait for you to hear more of her story. So welcome, Frances. Thank you so much for coming on
Thank you.
podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I feel quite honoured that you've, asked me to spend this time with you.
So can you tell me a little bit about where you're from and what life looks like for you right now?
Well, at the moment, we live in Southampton. We are thinking of moving north. Originally, we were going to move to Derbyshire, but we're actually thinking about moving to East Yorkshire to live near our family now. So that's kind of the plan. It's kind of still what we want to do. But
Oh,
at the moment, we're here. And this we've just had a very very recent life change in the last week when we've just decided to adopt a ex-breeding bitch. So we've got a very scared spaniel here. We're trying to get used to life.
oh,
Um, so we are a little bit more home based than we have been, because basically she's not really ready to go out. So that's what life looks like now. So some slight restrictions, but we're hoping by the end of the weekend we'll get her on a lead,
okay.
and then life will be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I live in Southampton, but I was born and brought up in Northampton. Went to college in Cardiff, and then met my husband here when I was in clinical practice back in uh, whenever it was.
Because
When was
I
I
remember.
1980. 1980 that was. I
Wow.
was in Fareham on clinical practice at the psychiatric hospital there, and I met my husband at a Christian fellowship there. We've been married for over 44 years.
Yeah, wow. Because I know when you said that you used to be an occupational therapist, and I used to be a speech therapist about 30 years.
Yeah.
So what drew you into that profession originally?
Well, um, basically, I'm one of these people that never really knew exactly what I wanted to do. Um, Looking back, I kind of, in a way, slightly regret that I didn't go down the road for training to be an art teacher. I
Mm.
remember going to college when I was in my 20s, going to the college, and doing an interview about doing a pre-diploma course. And I don't think I had a lot of confidence in myself then. And if I'd had the confidence I've got now, I'd maybe have done it. But I was one of these people who went for lots of different jobs. And I worked in a whole office and I hated it. I was never really an office person. But I ended up at the psychiatric hospital, at St. Crispin's Hospital, as a helper, an occupational therapy helper. And I found that I could use my creativity through that. And that's what led me to train, really. I worked for a few years as an occupational therapy helper, unqualified. And that's what made me go back to college to do the training to become an OT.
I can identify with so much of that really because
I stumbled across it almost.
I
I
know.
don't think what an OT was till I was trained for it.
Yeah, I mean, I work with speech occupational therapists now, and they sort of work with the upper body, the hands and the
Yeah.
everyday daily living, whether you can, manage with the cooking and the daily life skills and all those sort of things. Um, and and then when I visited my brother in a psychiatric hospital, I remember speaking to an occupational therapist there, and um, she was doing a bit of art, I guess art therapy you would call it. And interestingly, I gave her my one of my books, which was like a Christian kind of sketching come coloring book, and some activities in there. And she said, well, we used some of them, but we're not really supposed to talk about religion and things like that. So I probably won't use
Yeah.
the pages that've got Bible verses on them and things like that. And I thought, oh, okay, then, that's the way the world goes, isn't it? But so can you tell us a little bit about your faith story?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, how did you come to know?
I had my lovely mum, and she was a lovely woman. She was a lovely, good Christian woman, Methodist. Always sent us to Sunday school. So from a very young age, I went to Sunday school. But I would say that I didn't really know God. Um, and when I had the fortune to go on, I was involved with the young people's work, and I went on an expedition to the Dutch Frisian Islands with this young people's group. Just hang on a minute, I'm just letting the dog through. She's got trapped. That's it. All right, Bubba. Yeah, so we went, this group, we went to the Dutch Frisian Islands on an expedition. And actually, funny enough, I went as a group artist. That was my role. So I had to go as a group artist to actually draw and illustrate our trip. So
Oh,
that was my job. Anyway, so we got involved with this church and a minister there, and it's just where the way he was sharing about having a relationship with Jesus. And I thought, well, all the years I've been to Sunday school and church, I didn't think I had a relationship with Jesus. Um, and so then I made that decision that and he said, well, you can make a decision to come to know God now if you want.
yeah,
So that's what I did. Um,
yes. Has
and
your
then
changed?
in my, in the rest of my sort of late teens and early 20s, I had a lot of problem with depression personally. I suppose really going into OT and then going into psychiatry, like a lot of people, we help we help people and we reach out to people because of struggles with that ourselves. So in my early 20s, I had a lot of problem with depression. I had a really good um, uh, chap and his wife were very supportive to me. Matter of fact, he came to visit me yesterday. He's in his 80s now. He's traveling around seeing various relatives and friends. I only see him, maybe once a year if I'm lucky now. Um, but he recently, well, in the last year or so, he's lost his wife. But he came to visit me yesterday, and I would call him his mum's my spiritual dad. And they helped me a lot. And to gain confidence and to know who I am in God, really.
Mm.
Um, and so it went from there. So yeah, so I came to the Lord on the Dutch Frisian Islands, and then and then I got involved with a good church locally, and then it's gone on from there.
So how did that art journaling first come into your life?
Um, Art itself, just art as pure art and loving art, I have done all my life. So as I say, I did mention that I've often thought of even thinking about lately, oh, what would it been if I'd have gone to train to be an art teacher instead of what I did? Um, and as I say, if I'd had more confidence, I might have done. But I've always loved art. I was telling somebody um, yesterday, I think it was, um, that I was too fat to ballet dance, but from a very young age, I used to sit and draw ballet dancers. So I was always drawing whatever. Usually, as I say, ballet dancers when I was a kid. So I've drawn and painted all my life. But then when later on, I would say only in the last few years that I've brought together the faith and the art,
All right.
come together a bit more. But really, art journaling, as in Christian art journaling, I've only really done that much over the last couple of years, really.
Yeah.
So it's relatively new. I've done journaling, like writing journaling. I've done a lot of written work journaling for quite a few years.
Mm.
But art together with the journaling, bringing art together with the journaling and with faith. That's been a fairly recent thing
Yeah.
the
Okay.
last few years.
So what like what brought you to like trying exploring it a bit more? Because I know you're now a member of the Creative Sanctuary, and I just wanted to know why you joined, but also how how does the art and the journaling and that creativity give you clarity, give you peace, that give you that sense of being with God?
Well, I find that particularly that the way I use it to process what's going on within my heart. I process what's going on in my life and what I feel, you know, God's speaking to me about. It gives me clarification of what I'm thinking about when I read scripture or when I'm thinking about something that's going on in my life or trying to work out something that's going on um, in my relationships or whatever. And I certainly most of the time when I'm working with other people, encourage them to use whatever's going on with them to actually process that using the art, using the art as a medium of expressing that really or working it through.
Mm.
Because as you know, you can start in one place and you end up in a completely different place. And you have a journey. You do a journey through your art, don't you?
Yeah, 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 definitely.
And I think that sort of thing it's been a much more recent thing for me for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Um, I would say that I've probably been doing sort of like expressive art for a few years, just expressing what's going on with me, but in a more deeper way, in a more focused way, really, in the last couple of years.
yeah, yeah.
That's when I've done it.
So
And
I know,
it was through learning about various workshops that were available um, mainly through Facebook. Really, you sign up to do various workshops and things, and you learn from other people, and you think, do you know this is good? And I think when I was first did the workshops, um, I was going through, changes and struggling with some stuff, and I just found it as a really good outlet.
mm,
So I thought I need to do more of this. So that's how I got into it, really.
yeah, and I know you now run some art journaling clubs in your church, and
Yeah.
you use some of the resources from the Creative Sanctuary. So how did that all start?
Well, I mean, really, that the art journaling classes that we do at the church, they're just an extension of me sharing what I've got from it and my personal experience, and just trying to encourage other people. Because all my life, when I've experienced something and actually benefited from something, I always try to seek a way of sharing it with others.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think possibly the greatest gift that God's given me is the ability to share and encourage and equip others.
Yeah.
Because that's what I find myself always wanting to do, is to encourage and equip and serve others.
Yeah.
And so if I learn something, then I want to share it. If I've gained from something, I want to share it with other people very quickly. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'll go and learn something, and I might not know a lot about it, but I immediately got this urge to share with others, and just pass it on, really. And it's just through it again, it almost came out by accident, really. We'd been talking for a while with people about, trying to engage with the youngsters at church,
Mm.
because we've got some young people and we haven't got, it's a small church. There's not a lot of people in the late teens, early 20s to work with these young people. So the young people we've got really didn't have anybody really to work with them or encourage them. And we've got a few that are really going through difficulties in life.
Mm.
So in talking with the parents, we just felt that having the club would be a really good outlet for them.
Yes, brilliant idea. So what impact has it had on those
Oh,
young
it's been
people?
amazing. It's been amazing because they really look forward to it now. And and as I think I shared with you on another time, Bev, the first time we did it, or was it the second time? I think the second time we did it, then one of the young people said, "Oh, I want to put some worship music on," and they went and put worship music on their phone. Nobody had said anything. Nobody had suggested it. They wanted to do it. They wanted to put worship music on
Wow.
and be painting to this music. And that was great because it all came from them, and they really look forward to it now.
Yeah.
And some of those young people are really going through, some quite challenging difficulties. They're going through changes in their life. As you know, with youngsters, they're finding out who they are, working out who they are as people and where they want to go in life. Um, and they're finding that it's just giving them a form of expression. They're putting stuff down on paper that perhaps they can't talk about.
That's amazing. That is really amazing. So,
We never put pressure on them to share, but
uh,
we try and encourage them to share, you know, and when they feel able, we try to encourage them to share what they're doing, but we never put pressure on them to share. We leave it up to them.
yeah. So was there any particular resource inside the Creative Sanctuary that you've used with them that has worked, and what did they get out of it?
Well, some of the papers we've used, some of your papers, and just some of the ideas as well, stuff that we've done. I've passed on, ideas that we've, themes, for example,
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah. And I know that you did the Confidence in Christ Bible devotional with was it with Jean or Jan? I can't remember who you did it with, but um
I think you know Jean, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
and you you organized that together. And what did you feel you got out of that, doing a Bible study online with someone else?
I think it's great. And probably the whole thing for me, I mean, there's masses of resources in the sanctuary, which I haven't really had time to explore all of them yet.
Yeah.
And I have done some, but I want to do more of that. But the most powerful thing to me is that ability to share with other people and actually do stuff with people. So I think doing that online Bible study together, the co-create sessions particularly, I think are excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you
Yeah,
like more of those, do you think? You'd like to have more of
I
them?
think it's the sharing of ideas. It's a bit like that saying, isn't it? The whole is more than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
Something about, what you bring, I bring, what another person brings. Um, you know, each person, say there's 5 people in a group, each person's got their specific thing that they bring, but there's more than 5 aspects.
Yeah.
There's something else about that sharing. There's a dynamic that you get that you wouldn't get if those 5 people hadn't come together.
Yeah. So I was thinking because it also forces me, because I'm so busy sometimes doing the business side of things and getting the library all put together in the back office and organizing things like that. Last night I was sorting out all the pictures of the things that are inside the Creative Sanctuary.
It amazes me because as you know that that's why we're doing this way. I struggle a bit with technology, how you pull together all that, um, and that having it there, that resource, it just amazes me how you pull it all together and all the bits and pieces, how you put it together. I don't know whether I could do that.
But God gives us all different gifts, doesn't he? And I remember doing that co-create session a few weeks ago, and I shared with you about the shape, the Rick Warren acronym. The spiritual gifts that people have completely different. The heart that we have that God's given us, again, completely different. How we emotionally, how we react to things, and the abilities and the achievements that we've had, again, will be totally different between me and you. Our personality and our experiences, again, completely different. And God has made us all unique. And I remember you doing a picture about that. Do you want to describe that picture to us and why you did it like that?
Which one are you talking about? The shape one?
The shape one, yeah.
Oh yeah. Shall I go and get it?
Yeah, you can go and get it. Yeah.
No, exactly where it's in the sunroom. I'm going. I got to go and open the door again for her because she's whining and wants to go out.
Oh, bless her. I was wondering if I could find it on my.
It's the door's blown to and she's squeaking. She's beginning to get so she's actually jealous now of the other dog because he gets to go out and on the lead, and she's now realizing there's a life that she hasn't experienced yet.
Oh,
That
I
she
was
needs to get the
share that.
lead.
I was going to share the picture with you because that's the one you've done, isn't it? Can you see it on the screen?
Yeah, that's it. Here it is.
Yeah, that's the real one.
That's the real one. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing. So tell us what it says to you as I share the screen.
Well, something that I think I've shared with you before. I did a lot of positive psychology with with a lady, and over the last few years, she's been working with us with our mental health charity. So I did this positive psychology stuff, and a lot of it is very much lined up with Christian thinking. And
Mm,
one of the things that I gained through that was a lot of personal self compassion and
yeah.
actually acceptance of who I am as a person. Because we can we can be very judgmental and sort of run ourselves down really and always be dissatisfied with who we are as
Mm,
people. But one of the things I put on this work is something I got to thinking about, and I'm often quite quoting, is that about keeping the shape of you. So I've put keep the shape of you on it.
Mm, mm.
And it's important to accept that ourselves as people. Um, so as you say, the S was all about your gifts and your skills and what God's given us as individuals. The H is your heart. The A was the achievements. The P, well, my P was the I put beauty and flaws, because we're always looking for perfection, aren't we?
Yeah,
Um, and I keep coming back to that image, of the I don't even know how you pronounce it properly. Is it kintsugi or kintsugi? Where the artwork, where they put together the pieces of broken pottery.
like Kensuke. Yeah,
Yeah, kintsugi, and then you bring it together, and they're joined together. But there's beauty in the flaws because it's joined together with the gold.
yeah, yeah. That's
On my piece here, I actually used a piece of marbled paper for that.
yeah,
So and that just reminds me about yeah, God works with our imperfections, and then E was all about experiences. And what I was exploring there was the whole thing of oh, if only, or if I wish I had, or if only had. Even when I mentioned to you, I've been thinking recently, oh, what would it have been if I'd have actually trained to be an art teacher and I'd gone to it earlier?
yeah,
Then I didn't find occupational therapy till I was in my 30s. And I'd done all sorts of I've been all sorts of places, done all sorts of other jobs before then. And I could live on regret, thinking, oh, we should have come to it earlier, and then we should have gone to art college instead.
yeah,
And we cannot, we can't live on if only, and I wish.
yeah.
It is what it is. That's what I've written on here. It is what it is.
It is. And it's funny that you say all that because I've been having similar thoughts this week because my younger son is going off to art college. He's going off to University Art London, which is like the second best uni for the course that he wants to do, which is fine art photography, and second in the world. And I was like, gosh, he's doing something he really wants to do.
Yeah.
And there is that pride that's in me as a mum, but there's also that, oh, I didn't get to do what I really wanted to do. And not a resentment, but like you say, a if only kind of thing, a regret, I suppose, that I became a speech therapist because it was a safe thing to do. And as being brought up from an Asian family, came here into this country as a refugee, lived on a council estate and worked really hard to get to uni. And it was expectations, it was I either become a teacher or I become a doctor. Well, I didn't have the brains to become a doctor, and the teaching was like, oh, I don't know if I could cope with 30 kids. So the halfway house was being a speech therapist because you worked in schools, but you didn't work with 30 kids, generally speaking. And 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 the bits that I enjoyed were the creative bits, when I had to work with children who couldn't communicate at all, and I had to make like overlays um, and have pictures so that they could press the button and it would say something so they could communicate. And those were the bits that I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy the other bits. And it was very small. That was a little small bit of my job was the creating bit. And even that I had to outsource because you'd get assistants to create the stuff. You'd just put the brains behind it and they would do the
Yeah.
making of it. So uh, and it's no point having those regrets now because I love being in the creative sanctuary, because I get to meet other women who are trying to join up their creativity with their walk with God. And that's the amazing side of it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I say, with this piece, I went along the lines of, oh, what I've written here, no experience is ever wasted, even the bits that went wrong, even when it's gone pear-shaped, I put, and we can't live on if only or I wish. And it was what as it was, and it is what it is. So that's where we're at. It is what it is. We are where we are, and actually, we have to work with what we've got, don't we?
Exactly, exactly. So, how do you see God using your creativity in the future? Because I know you've done retreats. I've done retreats as well, art retreats. What other things do you think you see God using your creativity in the future?
Well, obviously, I wanna I wanna do more of that sort of stuff with the retreats. Like like you say, I run these three C's ladies retreats, and it is about creativity, um, connection, connection with ourselves, with others, and with God, and composure as well. So it brings in the relaxation and meditation side. So those are the three aspects. But the latest thing I've been thinking about, and I don't know whether anything will develop, but I've taken interest and sort of kind of got involved with this new project that started in Southampton. There's a chap that rescued a lady off the bridge a month ago who was going to end her life, and he got very passionate about trying to do something about stopping people ending their lives and doing mental health support, prevention work. And within a month, they've got a team together, a 24/7 team that can be on the bridge and help people. Apparently, in the last 3 weeks, they've saved 14 people.
Wow.
Um, and it's been quite amazing. Now, I've been in touch with him, and so I don't know whether, it's too early days to say. I don't know whether any doors will open with that, but I've explained to him my background and the fact that I've worked in mental health for 40 years, 40 plus years, and I've run a mental health charity for the last 13 years. And of course, he said he's very keen. He said he needs all the support from people with experience that he can have. But I'm just wondering whether there's any potential there for actually, doing some journaling with people who are, um,
Definitely.
in crisis.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether or not we could actually use that in a powerful way, to help people work through some of what's going on with them.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't know. It's something I need to pray into because it's all terribly new.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
you know,
I probably told you.
We'd like to use that. Well, is that an opportunity? Could we do art journaling at the mobile coffee shop? Could we have art materials there and
Yeah,
just encourage people to just express what's going on with themselves with paint or with pens or
definitely. I mean, some people call it,
writing.
I've heard people say, oh, let's do an art party, and a paint party, and we'll just bring our paints and our paper and the coffee shops normally kind of think, oh, well, this is good. And if you come on one of our quiet days, they might even have a room, I don't know, but you know, if you come on one of our quiet days, then at least you're buying coffees as well, so it'll be good for business. But from that point of view, I think art becomes a way of communication, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And say that when I was helping my brother with he had very severe depression, there were things that I just there's no point me saying the same thing over and over again because it kind of when you're in the depth of depression, it kind of goes in one ear and comes out the other because it can't concentrate on what you've said or
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's weird what they go through, and from my point of view, I didn't know what to say, and art became our way of communicating. And he'd come through the door, and he'd say, "Oh, I'm feeling anxious. I'm having these thoughts again," and I know what the thoughts are, but I can't do anything to take them away other than pray. And I remember praying for him once, and he thought that was really weird. He thought, that he felt a bit uncomfortable. But actually, sitting down and having all the art materials on the kitchen table and a canvas and saying, "Oh, do whatever, I'm not going to tell you what to do." Just and it became a way of him being able to express himself, but also it became less threatening because it didn't matter what you put on the canvas, and no one's going to judge you as long as you've been told that no one's going to judge you, and it's just a way of um, it's a distraction, I suppose. It's a distraction from those thoughts, and
Yeah.
you come away and say, "Well, I feel a lot better now because I'm not thinking about those things."
Yeah. I mean, this is all really new. I mean, what then my way of thinking about this business about using the art with people in crisis. Having said that, we ran a program through our through my charity. We ran a program what we called Space, and it was an acronym for uh, uh, suicide prevention, awareness, connection, and education.
Mm,
Space, and it was about having space to be you. Now, part of that, we used journaling. We
no.
used the art journaling as part of that. So we had a lady come on along who ran a thing called Core Art Journaling, and she did some journaling with those people.
Right.
Um, so we have done that sort of stuff in the past, but I'm just interested now. Obviously, need to pray into it to see whether God wants me to use this with this new project and offer that.
Mm, yeah,
Potentially, we could offer that to people who have been in crisis or are in crisis, just an opportunity to have the resources there that
yeah,
they could work with to actually come, get some of the angst out that's going on in their heart and mind,
yeah,
to get it out on paper, I think could be quite powerful.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And all these colors, they all mean different things as well, don't they? And
Yeah,
mm, and if they have some education about that as well, then they'll also know that when I put down this black, or maybe I've got, I've got some yellows and pinks that I put down on the paper, and then I put black over the top. There's a lot of, that even that says something, doesn't it? Uh,
yeah,
and I often tell the story of how I I painted a bruise, and I thought, why am I painting a bruise? Because it looked like a real mess on the page. But it's because over a series of months, I had been battered and bruised, not physically, but
yeah,
mentally, by things that had happened. So it's just a way of expressing yourself. Uh,
yeah,
God can speak, God spoke to me in a very powerful way. And when he said, I'll turn that mess into my message. And I thought, wow, okay, and let's do this, and all the resources, I have to honestly say, I was looking at them yesterday and I was thinking, did I create these? I really can't remember even creating them. Um, or when I did them even, and I just felt like it was like God taking me on this journey.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
it amazes me. I mean, I haven't even explored it in less than a third of what you got on there on the Creative Sanctuary. And one of the questions you did ask is was, what would you say to encourage other people to get engaged with it? And I would say, it's just it's just a wealth and a rich resource that is just so valuable to have. And you can just there's so much there that you could get so much out of. It's such a wonderful resource for people to dig into.
yeah, so what
Um,
I would recommend is you to go and have a look at the Metamorphosis Success Path, um,
yeah,
is in the Creative Sanctuary. Um, And this is, if you go into the learning section and the creative sanctuary,
Yeah.
and you go to the success path, you can see that there are all these worksheets and workbooks on the journey that takes you from embracing brokenness to soaring and being more confident in how you express yourself and who you are in the Lord. So, I have all these different, say like this one here, understanding your brokenness, um, which, and you click here in this pink button here, you can download the worksheet and you can see it here. This is something that you might be able to use.
Absolutely.
Your
Yeah.
brokenness, what, right about a time when you felt broken or in pain, what happened? How did you feel? I know these have got Bible verses on them as well, and if you're not a Christian, some of these might not feel like they're relevant, but it's an
You've also got all your resources there that are suitable for people who aren't yet on that road, haven't you?
oh well, this one is particularly for Christians, but I mean, there is, if you go to, yeah, you've got the prayer cards here, which are obviously, these are all the resources, prayer cards, or the grief affirmation cards, or the 30-day prayer journal. There's all that.
Oh,
But if you wanted to use the non-faith resources, that these are the ones. So, for example, this anxiety recovery journal. This might be something that you could use with non-Christians
yeah.
through mental health issues. And you would just, you download it here. You can see this blue link here. You can download it, and there it is. And
Yeah. Such a
it's
lot of potential.
by week. You can do it in you don't have to take the whole book with you. You can just do one week and see how they get on with that. And then
Yeah.
next week and do the next week's journal prompts. But yeah, those are the resources that you could use to share with people who are going through anxiety. Yeah,
I just think at the moment it's just a case of watch this space and see where, see what happens and where it goes.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
but it's brilliant. I always believe in God's timing's perfect. The way that I've gotten involved with the creative sanctuary, and then this other things come up about this suicide prevention, which is obviously, like I mentioned, our space project ran for 3 years. It's what we were trying to do. And actually, we used the Water Activities Centre to work in, which was right down by the Itching Bridge. But this particular work is actually on the Itching Bridge itself, and they're trying to set up a mobile coffee shop. But I'm already envisaging, your question was, oh, what can you think you might be able to use it for, where you'd go? I'm thinking, I'm not saying definite, I'm thinking I can see possibly an opportunity to encourage the arts, use of the arts, and use of creativity to actually help some of these poor people that are actually in crisis. I mean, if nothing else, actually, as you said with your brother, having it almost like a diversional activity and just diverting them onto something, getting something out, getting people out of their head and getting them to get something down on paper. And I actually know that also writing, journaling, scribbling with pens, or just using color, just giving somebody some paper and some brushes can be really therapeutic, can be very calming.
Yeah, and even tearing up, when you feel anger, coming up in you, and you think, I'm just going to tear these pages out of a book or out of a, a book that you don't want, but I'm going to tear them up and I'm going to use them as collage and then I'm going to paint over that and then I'm going to write, once that paint's dried, I'm going to write over it some of those feelings. That
Yeah.
is really therapeutic.
I think certainly for for dealing with all the sort of angst and, what's going on in our lives. I know the young people particularly appreciate being able to use it and layer their stuff, and it becomes their safe place where they can put all their stuff and they can write all the stuff and draw all the stuff and then cover it over. So it becomes their safe place where they can put stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that is really that. Well, I did that in one of my retreats actually. I had these women come from all over the island, but also some from London and Croydon and places like that. And they, it was interesting how I showed them my piece of work, which was on a canvas, and I said I got them to write a prayer the night before. And I said, you could just be a completely honest prayer, from the heart. None of us are going to read your prayer. It's only between you and God. So if you feel angry, then you write that in a prayer because God knows it anyway. And then we tea stain that letter. We let it dry, and then we tore up the pieces. And I said the next day, I said, right, we've torn that up the pieces. Now I'd like you to incorporate that prayer letter into your piece of art. And they all had the same size canvas. And some people use the torn up bits of letter as surf or waves as part of their waves, but the surf on the
Yeah.
waves. And other people use their torn. One lady, she talked about how her husband had taken his own life 2 years prior to that retreat, and she hadn't really got over it. And she'd done a cocoon, like a cocoon for a butterfly, and she'd put the little torn pieces of paper to round this cocoon, and then she had a butterfly up in the air and a blue background, blue sky background. And she said to me, it felt like, God said, you have been in this cocoon for 2 years now, and now it's time for you to fly, spread your wings,
Yeah, wow.
show what I've got for you. And that was a really powerful. Other people use the bits of paper to create a path in a garden. It was all used all in different ways. I mean, I used it because my letter was really quite a painful letter. I didn't want anyone to see any of the words. So I'd created a heart, and it was God's heart, red heart, that was painted. And I put that over the top of my mess, over the torn up bits of letter. And you could see bits of the letter coming out of the edges of the heart. And in the background was God's creation and landscape. But as I said, I was amazed what God taught me in that retreat, because I really didn't know what I was doing because it was the first retreat, was that everyone has a story inside them and everyone has a way of
Yeah,
doing one thing. You've given them a letter that's tea stained, and they're all going to do different things with it. So, and it was
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Mm. It's just got, I mean, I think it can be so powerful, And the at times I've had conversations with people and they say, the same old thing is, oh, I'm not artistic.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't draw any. I'm not any good at art. That's not the way I work. But you see, I think the thing is the word creativity is much broader than thinking whether you think you can draw or paint, because creativity is a much broader thing than that, and it's encouraging people to realize that we have a creative God,
Yeah.
and you might not think that we are creative, but we are.
Yeah.
But
I say that. I said we're made in the image of God and He's our creator. And if we are made in His image, then we have creativity inside us. And I say that to
we
people.
will.
I just look
Yeah.
at you and think, yeah, well, that's easy for you to say. But yeah, it's getting. I just feel it's such a powerful way of God speaking through you, and through that piece of art, and like when we see the ladies in the Creative Sanctuary create things, and then they write a little blurb about what God said through that picture. I think, wow, that's amazing. How God can speak through their creations.
Do you remember the other day, the piece I put up, my serendipity bit? You
Yeah,
see that the way God can speak to you. When I came across, when we were art journaling in the club the other day, our art journaling club, and
yeah,
my friend was looking for a bit. I've got a box of collage stuff, and she was looking for a bit of music background paper, and this little picture of the maggot in the wor in it was out of a gardening magazine. It was to do with wormeries, and it kind of accidentally attached itself to her bit of music paper she was going to use. And I saw it on the table and I said, "Oh, you're just about to use that?" And she said, "No, I don't know what it's there for." And I said, "Well, it's obviously there for because God meant me to notice it." And I'd misread it. And I thought it said, "What?" And it actually said it's from a gardening magazine. What type of maggot is living in my wormery? And I read it as what type of maggot is living in my memory.
oh wow.
And so that started me on the train of thought of how we can let things niggle our minds. Our mind is the battlefield, isn't it?
It is,
We've
yeah,
just been talking about people in crisis and people, thinking their lives are in such a difficult position they don't want to carry on anymore. And I'm sure many of us, if we were honest enough, we've all been there
yeah,
at various times. But our mind is a battleground. And that what came to me as well, this is the piece I think I shared on the sanctuary. I think I shared the picture of it on the sanctuary the other day.
yeah.
It's a piece I did last week, and it led me to this verse in the Song of Solomon. Catch us the little foxes. You see, it's the little things that niggle. Not often we cope with the big things, but there's little things that catch us the little foxes that spoil the vineyard. Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 15. And that's where I went, and you laughed about the that little statement I found, and Emma was using all those kind of statements. That's what she used to use with our creative options mental health project young people's group. So
Mm.
we've got loads of sheets of prints out that say all sorts of things. And this one says, "My brain has too many tabs open." And it's our minds that cause us the most problem and play tricks on us. So I work with that, and also from the inspiration of your workshop with the gold, with the Klimt workshop,
Mm.
I started playing around with the gold leaf. I got gold leaf, silver leaf, and bronze leaf, and put some bits on it, and actually did about I keep returning to this business about vessels.
Yeah. Do
So
you
I
want
put
to,
some vessels on there.
can you hold it up so we can see it?
Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah, I can see it. Yeah. And so the
Yeah, so
words were, oh,
that's where I'm playing with the gold leaf.
oh yeah, yeah, I can see your vessels and I can see the words. Did you type those out yourself?
I just wrote them out and stuck them on. But I'm experimenting with gold, silver, and bronze leaf
Yeah,
at the moment. And this was on black paper, and then I ripped it up.
yeah. It's beautiful. I love it. Love it.
Um, but your workshop on with the Klimt thing has has stimulated a lot of things about how the other I did another piece the other day on I think it was the last time we were together the time that I came with the idea of doing the thing about the wood, hay, and stubble. We build not with wood, hay, and stubble, or we can build with gold and silver, and I did a piece on that as well. So I seem to keep revisiting these themes.
Yeah,
God's speaking to me about that, I think.
he's definitely talking about refining you, and then now that it's like you've got a treasure trove. That's what I feel the word God is saying to you. You've got a treasure trove inside you in terms of your experiences, your knowledge, your it's that it goes back to that heart thing again, isn't it? That shape thing of
Yeah,
you've got such a heart for people with mental health. You've worked in psychiatric hospitals. You absolutely love art and using that as a way of connecting with people and connecting with God. Um, and God wants you to use that, and it's a treasure trove. That's the words I want to say to you. Like gold, complete treasure that you need to be able to share. And you've got it on your page, which has been scattered all over. God wants you to share that gold with others.
yeah, yeah. So it's as I say, I don't think anything happens without a reason. I think that even every time, even people you meet, and there's timing and there's a purpose. To everything that happens, even things which we don't think are very good at the time.
Yeah.
It's a place of learning. Um, and as I say, I do I do have a passion to share and encourage others with these things. If I learn something, I just try and pass it on in whatever way I can. And I'm just always looking for opportunities to share um, more with people. Um, so the other thing is, of course, on Monday I've got the exhibit. We're setting up for the exhibition, part of the Hampshire Open Studios. Of course, that is art for art's sake. But I'm looking for that opportunity. Certainly, when I'm there, I don't know whether you call it curating or hosting or whatever you call it. But anyway, my slot is on Thursday afternoon. So I've got to be there Thursday afternoon, but it's an art exhibition. It's not it's not a church thing or religious thing. I'm just saying to God, give me that opportunity
Yeah, exactly.
to
I mean,
speak to people,
yeah,
share a word,
I
encourage people.
exactly, because I've got a non-Christian friend who's an illustrator said to me, "Oh, you should go and do an exhibition at the library." And I was like, "Oh, do I, and I would say, "Oh, but I'm not an artist, I mean, you went to art school and you became an illustrator. I didn't go to art school." And even I will say that, even though I tell others, "Oh, everyone's a creator, creator because we're made in the image of God." But, we have these thoughts in our head thinking, "Oh, but I didn't go to art school." And it's a load of rubbish, really. But anyway, I was going to say to you, I haven't got them all here, but can you see? This is
Yes,
my Zentangle. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah.
yes, brilliant.
We're going to be doing that Zentangle workshop in
I'm
a
looking forward to that.
couple of weeks, and it's got here, God's word is sharper than a sword. Share the good news, and so I've done a whole load of these last weekend. I thought Zentangle, God, why did you get me to do Zentangle? I've never done. I was having a bit of a tantrum with God last weekend, and then I just felt him saying, "No, I want you to do it." So I thought, right,
Yeah,
I'm just going to do it. And I think I did about four of these different types um, and came out really well, actually. I was quite impressed. And then this week, I I created this that will go into the workbook, but the workbook's
right.
only for the members. And I created a huge workshop book just for the members. So from going from thinking, I don't know anything about Zentangle, why am I doing this, to actually really loving it, and thinking, yeah, God can really use this.
Yeah.
And so I've created all these pictures that I've now put in frames, and I will then exhibit them at the library, and I'll put a little notice next to each one as to what I felt God was saying to me whilst I was doing that. So it becomes kind of like a living testimony there on the walls. And I
Yeah,
won't,
wow.
I'm actually,
That's amazing that, in such a short period of time, you've managed to create such a wealth of resources. That amazes me as well. I'm looking forward to that one because I don't know anything about Zentangles either.
yeah, yeah.
But, it's just that we can all learn something new. And what I wanted also to say about the creativity, you never know in using the creativity what doors it opens for people. Now, for example, I was teaching this workshop I did for the for the care home. I'd never done a workshop in that care home before. I did that yesterday afternoon, and some of the people I was working with really struggled, to even understand, how to get an image of what they were looking at onto the piece of paper. But one lady was actually, she did quite a good picture. I took with me a teddy bear for them to draw or flowers. They had a choice. So I was doing a bit of still life with them really. But this lady did her drawing, and I said, you know what? And this is where the encouragement comes in again. I said, you've done a really good representation there of that freezer. It really does look like a freezer. And she said, well, I love art. She said, I don't think I'm very good at it. But this lady, she's well into her 90s. She's Swedish.
Mhm.
And she has one son that lives not too far away. And of course, the other son is still, presumably, is abroad, is in Sweden, I think, or somewhere else. And of course, she's got no one to take her out or anything. And she said, I love looking at art. She said, I don't think I'm very artistic, but I love looking at art.
Mm.
So, that just doing that helped me to understand. I started to learn more about that lady. I wouldn't have known if we hadn't been doing art together. And the lady who organises the activities, the wellbeing coach, she'd gone later on. She'd gone home, so I left her a message and said, "Look, I've had this conversation with this Swedish lady. Is there any way you can make arrangements to take her and some of the people, to see some of the Hampshire Open Studios exhibition?"
Ah,
Because just for them to look at art.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
she said, oh, that's what I love. I love looking at art. And
yeah.
we wouldn't have known that if we hadn't have done that bit of creativity with people.
Yeah, that was such an amazing interview, wasn't it? And I'm so glad you make it. It was so inspiring to have that conversation with Frances, and her story is such a reminder that God can use every part of our creativity, not just to bless us, but to bless others. And here's the exciting thing that I promised you. I could have talked to Frances for ages, but I had an exciting thing that I want to tell you about. On Thursday, the 28th of August, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern time, I'm running a brand new Zentangle workshop called Drawn to Peace. And I've been creating some beautiful pieces here. And I'll be sharing about this. I can't wait to share with you how I created them. And this is going to be a really gentle, faith-filled evening where we'll explore how even simple lines and patterns can become prayers on a page. You don't need any artistic experience to join. If you can draw a line, you can join in. Just bring your heart, bring some watercolor paper and a pen. I've got here a watercolor fade proof pen. This one's called a Unipin fine line, so bring that along with you. and just a willingness to play. I'm so excited, and I'd love to see you there. I've left the kind of link in the description. Save your place now at creativesoulspace.com/Zen25, and I can't wait to see you there. Okay, take care. God bless. Bye.